That's Jefferson. Climbs the ladder. Oh, my goodness. Come
on. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the UFC Show, talking UFC 292. Aljamain Sterling, Sean O'Malley battling it out tonight. Got a great card on hand in Boston. I'm Draft Cheat, as you guys know, joined by the usual crew today. We got Mad Lab, we got JSU, we got Red Kachik, and we're going to break down all 12 fights from both a DFS and betting perspective. We'll throw it to you first, Mad Lab, there in Southern California. I hope you're staying safe this weekend. And what do you got going on there in your sweatshirt? I got a new puppy here in the Denver area, but that looks like maybe a fake puppy. What's going on with you, Mad Lab?
This is the fifth guy on the panel today. This is Cub Swanson season.
There we go. We got Cub Swanson, so we got a five-man booth. Makes sense for such a big card. Brief introduction from Mad Lab. I know he's got a lot to say about these fights, so that makes sense. Save some time on that front. JSU, you are conveniently, I must say, back from last weekend off. Missed not the best card in the world, but I know you wouldn't miss this one, UFC 292. How you doing, JSU?
I mean, conveniently, I had my brother's bachelor party, which it was a very good time out in Foxwoods. We went to the casino for 2 days. Had a nice time. Went golfing in the morning on Saturday. Went to see a show Saturday night. It was a very fun time. Got a little drunk and fun all around. But I'm ready to pick some winners. I picked some winners actually last week for the crew that I was with. They were all trying to get bets in, and so I picked some winners for them. Even though I was very, very intoxicated at that point, but I didn't get to see the show, so Mad Lab can razz me a little bit, I'm sure, for not watching and picking.
Well, no, I'm just wondering why you decided to so conveniently miss the show on the worst card of the year.
Listen, it just worked out that way. You know what I mean? I planned my brother's bachelor party around the worst card. Mad Lab, you should appreciate this. I didn't plan it around like this card, right? I knew this card was going to happen. I said, no, we can't do that weekend. So that's master planning, if anything. That's job well done, JS. You don't want me to be here for this?
JS, you seem recovered from the 3 White Claws that got you super intoxicated last Saturday.
Three. You better settle down, DC. 3. I mean, come on. 2. Like we.
Yeah, well, if we're trading drinking jokes, I don't know if that's a path I want to go down, so I'll keep it at that. Drew,
I'll come at you, DC. Don't let me start on you. I'll get you good. So.
Exactly, I'm backing down already. It's like when I pick a fight with Mad Lab on Twitter, quickly scurry to my corner once they bark back a little bit. Drew, let's go to you. How are you doing on this Saturday, and what do you think of this card overall?
Yeah, doing good. I think this is the first show I've ever been on where an RPS guy has a Fitvine shirt on, so that's new. So congrats to JSU for being the first there. Yeah, that last week's card, I think we hit on a lot of spots as far as like gaps with guys having windows in the first round or extending the fight into the third round and getting a win. And it was really just a matter of getting the right dog. So looking forward to a better card this week. And obviously the contests are huge. Shout out to Steve Boyne, who made fun of me at 3 a.m. just because I just opened it up and saw the 200K to first contest, and he wanted to make fun of me for being welcome back to MMA this week on a Friday night.
Yeah, Boyden, I know, is in Boston. I think he'll be there live for the fight, so that'll be fun for him. Sounds like he's getting after it already, and he should have an interesting night in Boston. Hopefully things go his way, or else he may have some drinking stories of his own after a night in Boston for the fights. With that, we do got 12 fights to talk about, so let's jump right into them. As always, we'll start with the earliest fights on the card and go all the way.
Hold on a second. What about Cub Swanson?
All right. Let's go speak your piece. You can brag about everything you got right. Go ahead, man.
This is going to take 2 minutes. I just want to go around the board. DC, do you think that was a robbery?
No, definitely not.
Who do you think won the fight?
I thought Cub won.
Okay, Red Cheek, Drew, what do you think? Honestly, be honest. You're not going to hurt my feelings. We won.
No, I side with you. I think Cub won.
JSU, you were too drunk to watch the fight.
I mean, I watched it. I thought Cub won. I didn't think it was that bad. Why?
Anybody who called, bro, there were people on the internet saying that was the robbery of 2020 fucking 3, dude.
No.
I scored it for Cub before the cards came out.
Yeah. I could see scoring it the other way, but to call it a huge robbery.
1,000%. I could see score it the other way, but people calling that a robbery, I don't know what they're talking about.
It's like it must be the first UFC card they ever watched. It's like that was the biggest robbery of 2023 because there are way, way worse decisions on pretty much every single card, I would say. Hopefully, do you follow like the judging, Mad Lab? I know like the state commission,
the commission
right?
or the bonehead media guys who don't know what they're talking about?
Well, no, but the judges we know beforehand, right? And we kind of know like which way they might lean. Do you follow that stuff at all when handicapping fights?
Yeah, I mean, I try to follow as much as I can to see who the judges are on the panel, and I look at their track records, like Sal D'Amato and Chris Lee. These guys, they're terrible. You always got to be careful. But the thing with this is what the bad thing about social media is. It's as good as it is as bad as it is because you got so many opinions like that. MMA Decisions, I think it's called, where all the media people come out. People were tweeting me going, look at all the people that picked Cub Swanson. Okay. So then I go, okay, well, look at all the people. There were people on that panel that actually picked Dos Anjos winning that fight. There was like 5 fucking media guys that actually thought Dos Anjos won that fight. So it's like these are just normal people tweeting at MMA Decisions with their things, and you're taking them as gospel. Like, guys, that was not a robbery in any way, shape, or form. I say so. Cub says so. They say so. Let's go.
Let's go.
Speaking of robbery, Sean O'Malley against Peter Yan.
I don't know. I don't know if that was a robbery, but Jan did win that fight.
That was pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, that
was pretty bad. I'm sorry, O'Malley didn't win that fight.
I was on the O'Malley side. I'm with you, JSU.
I don't think he did either, but I don't think that. I think he fought.
Okay, fine, maybe not a robbery, but the Cub Swanson fight was definitely not a robbery. Like
no,
like at all.
They don't know what you know what a robbery is. Pernell Whitaker. Watch some of Pernell Whitaker robbery fights. That's a fucking robbery fight.
Hopefully, no robberies tonight. I'll say that. I like when the fights are unless it goes our way, of course. But for the most
Jason goes, Drew is locked in. Jason just in the chat. Drew is just locked in. And by the way, Drew, my buddy owned Fitvine Wine. That's why I have the shirt.
Does he?
Well, not anymore. He just sold it. But
what is that?
It's a wine company.
It's supposed to be clean.
Yeah, it was started. Actually, he's from.
Then we got Mad Lab with the 2-gallon jug.
Listen, Drew's locked in. We talked about it last week. When I'm not here to keep JSU and Mad Lab in line, these shows go like 2 hours long. So we're gonna cut these guys off, and we're gonna get to UFC 292, first fight on the card in the women's division. Karen Silva, small favorite, -140 or so over Marina Moros. Mad Lab has ditched Cub Swanson, and is locked in with Drew, ready to break down this fight. What do you see, Silva and Moros, Mad Lab?
I got to be honest with you. This fight, Moros to me is one of the most live dogs on this card. I don't know how well it's going to score, but when you look at the way they match up, a lot of people look at Moros as just as a grappler. What people don't understand is this girl was a coach of the Ukrainian boxing team. Like, this girl can box as well. She's very well-rounded. I know on her resume it shows that she's much more of a grappler, but she does have hands too. These girls have a history together already where Moros actually beat her. Silva's good, but like I said, Moros is just a more proven commodity here. I think the price is right at 8,300. I think that Silva does deserve to be the favorite here, but Moros to me is one of the more live dogs on this card, and I expect her to be very low owned as well. So it might be somebody that you can, look at. This is a fight you might want to target a little bit with Moros, maybe a little heavier lean in DraftKings, despite who you think is going to win. And if she ends up, having a really good fight, possibly even subbing her, you're starting off the night really good with possibly like a below 15% ownership on Moros.
Yeah, we'll get the official ownership numbers from Drew in a second, but first let's start to you, JSU.
Drew, why are you laughing?
Me?
No, Drew's smiling.
Drew's calling me out, man. I'm not even laughing at you. Oh. My kid's here eating a book on the other side of the door, and he's smiling because I can't do anything about it. So he just keeps peeking around the corner, eats another page of the book. So
he's eating a book?
He's eating like the edge of the book, yeah. I mean, he's like 1 year old.
Okay. Well,
but he's just rubbing it in my face, and I'm just watching him just stare me down as I'm chewing it. Sorry, man. I was on mute this time, at least.
He's got the positioning on you. There's not a lot you can do from over there.
He's taunting.
Yeah. JSU Silva has won her 2 fights, both by first round submission, which I think is certainly an interesting way to start a UFC career. What do you see between Silva and Moroz?
Yeah, this is interesting because I agree with Mad Lab that Moroz is definitely one of the more live dogs. And I think it's a decent spot to target because Silva, a lot of her finishes first round, right? If she gets that first round finish, she goes for it too. She's going for submissions. She's not someone like position. She wants to get those submissions. And kind of with Moroz too, I think hers is like the armbar, but I could see this where they both get in this little grappling exchange and, one of them shoots for something, whether it's a guillotine. Karine Silva likes to jump the guillotine. And maybe either she gets it or she gets in a bad position and then Moroz can capitalize. So either way, at the price tags for DraftKings, I'm going to be interested in this fight. I think Karine Silva has, upside early. And the longer this fight goes, though, I would lean it towards Moroz. So my pick is Karine Silva. I'm picking that she finishes inside the distance. But for DraftKings, I could understand people having both sides of this fight because I think it could finish either way.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. What do you see here for ownership numbers, Drew? I assume this will be one of the lower owned fights on the card. Basically a coin flip to go to decision, which usually kind of has people off a little bit. But yeah, what do we have for ownership and what's your pick between Silva and Moroz?
Yeah, I have Silva at 28% and I have Moroz at 20%. Yeah, I think Silva has the upside, just I guess a little bit expensive, but it's a pretty big gap between the inside the distance number between the two fighters and the money line. So my pick will be Silva. I think at the ownership, she still has pretty good leverage at the price. I'll have a little bit of Moroz just for, basically a mid-priced win. But Silva would be my pick to win. I think she's actually in a pretty good spot to aid in your lineups tonight.
Yeah. Final question here, just from me, Mad Lab. Silva with the 2 first-round submissions. Moroz hasn't been submitted. Like her last 3 or 4 losses have all come – or no, she did get submitted by Agapova. But what are your thoughts? Because I think Silva's upside, for me at least, does mostly rely on the early submission. Do you think she has a good shot at that in the first round, say?
I don't know about the first round. I think Moroz is the type of person that can kind of freeze you on the feet. Like I said, she was a coach of the Ukrainian boxing team. A lot of people don't know that. So she does have good feints. She does have good fakes. So you just can't take a shot on the center line with somebody like Moroz. The only thing with her is she doesn't hit with a lot of thud, a lot of pop. You know what I mean? So if you don't feel her power, you can kind of charge the pocket. But her grappling is really, really good. I see in certain situations them crossing each other out in the grappling. You know what I mean? So it could be a really good fight, but like JSU and Drew said, it's a fight that you definitely probably could target early on in the night to get some leverage because there's not a ton of leverage on this card. You know what I mean? So this could be one of those spots where you can get an upper hand.
Yeah,
it's my opinion.
I think last card was kind of crazy, right? It was like, how many consecutive fighters scored? Like the winner scored like 110 plus. It was kind of wild start to last card. I don't think we'll necessarily see that this card. We'll see though. Could be a different story. Next fight on the card, we just stay with the women. And one of the bigger favorites on the card, Natalia Silva minus 330 over Andrea Lee. I know you might be going a little bit against the grain here on this one, Mad Lab. So let's throw it to you. Andrea Lee, Natalia Silva. What do you got here?
Yeah, Andrea Lee, when she came into the UFC, people looked at her, and the UFC looked at her like this girl can be someone that is very relatable to America, to the women. She's a mother. She's good looking. She's marketable. She's a Southern Belle. She's a black belt in karate, brown belt in judo, brown belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, like a lifelong martial artist. She came out of the gate hot, three wins in a row. Everyone was like, she's arrived. She's got the image. She's very marketable. Then all of a sudden, she just took like a down tick. You know what I mean? She just took like a downturn, and she kind of froze in her momentum and her just ability to graduate. I don't know if it's her camp. Some people do have to move camps, but she never got any better. But she's still dangerous. She's still a lifelong martial artist who's dangerous. She just didn't jump into this game. Silva's very tough, but Silva can come out of the gate sometime a little bit too hot. And if you come out a little bit too hot, you can make mistakes. I just don't like the price on Silva. I think she's the rightful favorite, but 9,400 is very, very expensive for someone like Lee, who, if she does come in dialed in, she can compete everywhere. She can compete on the feet because she's obviously a very good, well-polished striker, and she can compete on the ground because she's well-versed in multiple martial arts that are, taken to the ground. You know what I mean? So I just don't like the price here. I do think Silva is the rightful favorite. I think the UFC kind of gave up on Lee at this point, but $9,400 to me is a little too high for someone who I think in Lee who's live.
Yeah, I think that makes sense from a DFS perspective. I know I'm going to have not too much Silva on my own lineups, but what do you see here, JSU? Certainly Natalia Silva will not only need to win, but score pretty big, likely at that price point to end up on the optimal lineup. What do you see between these two, JSU?
Yeah, and I understand that perspective, obviously from a DraftKings perspective. But when I look at this fight and Andrea Lee, I just don't think she really has that much of a chance. I mean, Jasmine went in against Natalia Silva, and Jasmine couldn't even take her down. And that was 3 rounds and literally could not take her down once. And Andrea Lee's going to come in, and I think that's going to be what she hopes to do. We've seen her try and wrestle recently, especially in her last few fights. Took down Macy Barber 5 times. We all know this. But I think that's going to be her game plan. And I just don't think she's going to be able to do it to Natalia. Natalia's got great balance. She's got really good hips. She's strong. You saw it. If you watch that Jasmine fight, you just saw her defend those takedowns. And really, it looked very easy for her. And I just don't think Andrea Lee's going to be able to execute her game plan. And that's going to end up leaving her in a spot where I think Natalia is just ultimately faster, quicker, great footwork, better hands. And I think that's going to show in the fight here. So my pick is Silva. I think she wins. I think she wins inside the distance too. I think she puts her out. But for DraftKings purposes, 9,400, I want to know what the ownership's going to be on Silva, because I feel like she should be one of the lower 9K fighters. But Drew, what do you think?
Yeah, she'll be one of 3 that are going to be in the 20s. So Natalia Silva I have at 25.5%. So just off that alone, I mean, she provides leverage because all the other fighters that are good in this range are going to be 35% or so. But I still think she just doesn't project out very well compared to the other fighters like Gary and Rodriguez and Zhang. So I think I'm going to be off of this fight. So just to recap, Silva I got at 25%, and I got Lee at 19%. And honestly, I don't know at Lee's history, but I just don't see a way at 6,800 for her is really like something I can plant a flag in at 19% own. And then Silva, I think just the circumstances around her price and the people around her, I can't get behind it. Even though she's 25% going to be the lowest owned probably up here, it's not enough upside for me. So I'll just avoid the fight.
So one thing too, our guy Dan in our chat said that he thinks Lee's going to be very highly owned, like much higher than what you have, Drew.
I mean, 20% is pretty high for a 1,600.
That's very high for 1,600. But listen,
he thinks it's going to be higher. Just throwing it out there. That's what his are saying. I think so.
I think Blackshear is going to be significantly higher, but that's just me.
I hope he is.
Yeah,
God, I hate that fight because that fight. Oh, we'll get to it. I got so many things to say.
Drew, you look like every time I look at you, you look like you're watching pornographic material.
I get weird ads. I get pop-ups.
Drew, is this what Mad Lab did to you all week last week when I wasn't?
No, he was actually
that was good.
He was pretty tame considering you weren't even here. Now you show up and he's picking on me. I don't get it.
I do love it though. I do love it.
Starting this card with 2 women's fights got Drew all hot and bothered over there. So
I got some weird stuff popping up on Instagram at the moment.
Yeah, Mad Lab just talked about you watching porn, so of course you got weird stuff popping up now.
Thank you, Mad Lab. Appreciate it. Danis. Well, who's the guy on Twitter? Danis? The guy keeps posting all the
Dylan Danis. Yeah.
Dylan Danis?
Yeah. No, I didn't know what the hell that was because I don't follow.
I still don't know, but I'm loving it.
Apparently he keeps posting pictures of his of Logan's wife.
Fiance, I think.
Or fiance, to try to bait him into, I don't know. They're so fucking.
Well, there's like a million pictures of Logan's fiance, like, kissing other man or whatever. So just trying to get under his skin, which, hey, I can appreciate it.
That's something you would do.
Yeah, exactly.
Rappi would totally do that, dude.
And then not show up to the fight, right? Like Dylan Danis might not either. So we'll see. All right. I'm personally going to show up fashionably late to this card and fade these two women's fight to kick it off and hope for 4 decently low scores. So that's my plan. And my DFS lineup is going to start with this next one. Andre Petroski, moderate favorite, minus 230 over GM3, Gerald Meerschaert. Petroski 3-0 in the UFC. He's been, or 4-0 rather. He's been pretty impressive in all 4 fights, scored well for DFS purposes. And this one, pretty big favorite to finish inside the distance, sitting around minus 260 or so. I like this one a lot for DFS purposes, Mad Lab. Let's throw it over to you, break it down, Petroski and Gerald Meerschaert.
Yeah, a DraftKings perspective, I agree with you, DC. I like this a lot, because there's a opportunity for Petroski to kind of run roughshod through Meerschaert, with his wrestling, with his pressure. We know that Meerschaert doesn't like that kind of heavy pressure, especially with a wrestler. People don't understand wrestling and grappling are 2 different things. When people say grappling, they automatically couple it with wrestling. Meerschaert is a great grappler. Petroski's got a good solid wrestling base with grappling. You know what I mean? So Petroski has an opportunity to get very heavy on him, go chest to chest, drop his hips, and maybe Meerschaert can't get his hips loose. But we have also seen Petroski fade. We have seen him put a little bit too much, out on the circuit in the first round, beginning of the second round. And Meerschaert's a guy that we all know that the refs are going to be looking. The judges, not the ref is going to be looking at him taking probably a beating in the first round, and they know his history. Let him last, and then all of a sudden, the second or third round, this is where he throws up one of his nutty submissions and ends up submitting somebody. He does it historically. This is what he does. He beats people he shouldn't beat. You know what I mean? So on both sides of the ball, you have a possible optimum play. You have a guy in Petroski who could literally run through him, and then you have a situation where Meerschaert at 7,400 in the second round could take a beating, maybe even a 10-8 round in the first round, and come back and throw up a sub on him. So I like this fight a lot to target, but I would temper my expectations with Petroski, and you got to give Meerschaert his credit. The guy doesn't have one of the most submissions in UFC history for nothing. Like, he has the ability to find your limbs. So you got to be very, very careful here. And the people that are uber confident in Petroski, I get it, but you can't fade Meerschaert. Meerschaert's a very dangerous play.
Yeah, I'm one of the people that's uber confident in Petroski here. I think there is a massive athletic difference between the two. I think Petroski's wrestling is going to make it really difficult for Meerschaert to control this fight and get into a position to win by submission. And then I think the power difference on the feet, right? I think Petroski kind of decides where this fight goes. Meerschaert's been knocked out. His chin is pretty dusty, in my opinion. And yeah, I mean, even looking at the weigh-in photos, Meerschaert seemed like he had not a lot of life in his eyes, and maybe he kind of knows his time's coming. So I'm big on Petroski here, but let's start to JSU to get your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with Lab that for DFS purposes, I see paths where both guys could finish, and we need some dogs on this card. And at 7,400 Meerschaert, he at least does have a path. And when you got a wrestler versus a grappler, and the wrestler wants to take it down, they just got to be careful, because grapplers like Meerschaert, he can catch you. And when like Navlab said, it can be the second, third round. They just need one shot, right? And they could be losing the entire fight. How many times have we seen him getting pummeled, and then all of a sudden just catches you late? He's losing the fight too, like really bad, and then just catches you and it's over. It could happen. So just for that reason, I think in DFS 1, it's a good fight to target. I'll probably have a little more of the dog, though, just for that, case and whatever. And the fact that 8,800 for Petroski, 7,400, I'm just going to lean more towards that dog for DFS. But for betting, I get what DC's saying too. You could just take the KO if you like Petroski, and think he just runs him over. You could take that. If you think Meerschaert has a shot late to finish him, you could take round 3, his sub is like plus 1,600 or something like that. You could take a shot there. So, just way to hedge.
Just food for thought too. I mean, a lot of people look at Meerschaert like he's a grappler. He is. I mean, he's a great grappler. But the dude is a black belt on the Duke Rufus on the feet. So it's not like he's lost on the feet. This dude knows karate. This dude knows kickboxing. He knows range. He knows space. He just doesn't use it. He doesn't utilize it enough. But he does know it. He is seasoned. He is a pretty well-rounded guy. But like I said, there's no right or wrong answer here, I don't think. I think one of these guys are live for a finish.
We got Uncle T and Mitch discussing drinking water in chat. So we got a real lively chat today.
They're trying to follow.
How do you see the chat?
What do you mean? You pull it up on YouTube? What are you talking about? Just
I'm
go to
okay,
YouTube
Mad
and
Lab.
pull the show up, Mad Lab.
I've been like 3 years at RPS without.
Actually, Mad Lab, if you don't want to pull up YouTube, to the
Don't
right.
you get an echo? Don't you get an echo if you have YouTube going at the same time?
No, just turn the volume off. But if you don't want to pull it up, to the right of the StreamYard, you'll see comments.
It says private chat. Oh, comments. Oh, here it is.
Click
hey, guys,
comments.
what's going on, everyone?
This show is live, Mad Lab. This show is live.
Like that
People
shit,
watch it right now.
Oh, shit, I can see everybody.
Mad Lab. So if you want to show a comment, just click over the comment you want and click show, and it will put it right on the screen.
That's fucking awesome. All right, cool.
You really shouldn't have told Mad Lab. These shows
No,
are
I want him showing him that. Let's go chat.
I got to block out 3 hours for these shows now at this point. Drew, let's get into you for ownership between these two and your pick for the fight, Petrosky and Mearshart.
Yeah, Petrosky's going to be one of the highest owned on the slate at 36%, and Mearshart going to be one of the lowest. And I think a lot of the reason is just the projections for everybody have them super low. I got them at 17%. Yeah, I think there's a fishy line on Mearshart here because I see inside the distance at like a implied for 25%, but by round 3, he's basically even with Petrosky, and he's got a 34% chance of finishing via submission in round 3. So I do like Mearshart to win. 16%. I'm going to have a little bit overweight the field there. Petrosky would probably just be matching the field at the ownership. I mean, he's almost 40% owned, and I really do see an avenue where Mearshart can win this, and it's 7,400 for DraftKings. This will be perfect. So, yeah, I'll actually make my official call. I'll say it's Mearshart, and it's in round 2.
All right, we got it. Mad Lab, was that you? You put that comment up there?
No, I don't know how to do it.
That was me.
JC, I knew it wasn't Drew. I knew it wasn't me and Matt. So I had
Mad Lab, I told you how to do it.
I know.
Literally,
I'm
just
clicking
move
on it.
over your cursor and click it.
I don't need that. It's too much business for me going on here.
And by the way, Nintendo was the greatest gaming system ever made. So let's not make fun of Nintendo.
We're officially on Boomer Alert on this show. JSU touting Nintendo and Mad Lab can't figure out how to get a comment
Just saying.
up on the screen. But hey, it's all good. Sounds like I'm kind of alone in the unfettered Petrosky love. So take that for what you will. That sounds like I'm riding with the donkeys on the field with Petrosky, but that's all right with me. Let's move to the next fight on the card. Brad Katona and Cody Gibson. It is Katona, who is modest favorite, minus 160. This one actually a pretty big favorite to hit the cards, which I imagine will keep it somewhat low owned for DFS purposes. But let's get it to you, Mad Lab. Katona, Gibson, two kind of, I think, relatively unknown fighters for people that aren't really into UFC. So talk about these two and what you expect from this fight.
Yeah, I mean, these two Ultimate Fighter fights. I'm very skeptical on, from a DraftKings and from a pick perspective. I got to be honest with you. Katona, you got to give him a lot of credit. When he first came, this is his second stint in this. When he first came into the UFC off the Ultimate Fighter, which he won, I always thought he was talented. He's really, really smart. He's an intelligent kid, which means he's a sponge. He's going to absorb what you tell him. My biggest issue with him, and still is, the kid will never reach his potential because he's at SBG. I was never a fan of SBG. I never thought they were a good camp. I thought that the only
What's
guy
SBG?
That's Conor McGregor's camp.
Okay, gotcha.
John Kavanaugh. So he went that's it. That's the only person they ever had was Conor McGregor. You know what I mean? So it's like they kind of rode his coattails from there. And I always thought Katona would be so much better if he went to like a Kill Cliff or he went to an AKA or like the really well, but he never did. He's very loyal to SBG and it's commendable, but it's just not helping his game. He gets booted from the UFC. He comes back to the Ultimate Fighter. He does it again. I mean, just the chances of winning it once. I mean, come on, twice. That's absurd. You know what I mean? So here he is now with a spot to win it again. And then he's got a guy in Cody Gibson who is a lot more unchained. This guy is not as disciplined. He's not as calculated. He's not as composed. He tries to kind of lure you in with a false sense of security. And the upside for an early finish would probably be on the Gibson side. But it's hard to really play this fight because Katona is so good on baiting you into these like lulling type of fights. You know what I mean? So the price on Katona is high. I don't know how well he would score if he wins because he is more of a composed fighter. So when you look at Gibson on the other side, if he wins, he's probably going to win. He's going to have to run some kind of a rough shot on Katona. So he's definitely going to cover his value. I just don't know where to go on this. And just for that reason, I'm kind of pulling my weight off this fight a little bit. I'm not going to really have a lot of exposure here.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I think if I'm going to this fight from a DFS perspective, JSU, I like the dog side better with the $800 in savings. Katona, even in his 2 UFC wins, these were back in 2018, didn't score particularly well, just 63 and 93 DK points. But yeah, I'll throw it to you, JSU. What do you see between these two?
Yeah, this is one of those fights. Mad Lab just, I'm glad this is my fights. I was like, I don't know about this fight. I don't know if I want either side. I think it's just a dog or pass fight to me. That's how it looks for DFS. 7,700. You take the dog. You finish out your lineups. Maybe he's got some upside to finish early, like Mad Lab said, or it could just be kind of a boring fight where neither of these guys score great. So I'm probably lower on the fight in general, but I'll have more of the dog. And I'll probably have none of Katona just because 8,500. We just talked about Petrovsky. I think he's a much better DFS play with much more upside. So other guys in that range I think just have better upside. So for that, dog or pass.
Yeah, pretty much the same thoughts I've got on that one. Drew, let's start to you. What do you see between these two?
Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet. I'm the same way. I'm going to fade this fight. I have Katona at 20% and I have Gibson at 21%. And again, I don't see it finishing. It would be a dog or pass if anything. So I'd play a little bit of Gibson, but there's no way I'm playing Katona. And that's it for my spiel. Lower owned fight, so you're not really hurting yourself. But yeah, Gibson as a dog is fine.
Yeah, all right. Kind of all four of us, I guess, a little bit of lukewarm takes on that fight, which I think is fair. That's kind of what I expected coming in. And honestly, this next fight, I kind of feel similarly about. It's another fight that's a modest favorite. Austin Hubbard sitting at minus 180 over Kurt Holubau. And another fight that is, a coin flip here or even a slight favorite to go the distance. This is another one, man, that I'm having a hard time getting super excited about from a DFS perspective. Hubbard sitting at 8,400 and his opponent 7,800. Talk to us here, Mad Lab. What do you got between these two?
Same exact thing as the last fight. You got one guy in Hubbard who just looks to control the fight. He's got no rhyme or reason why he would want to get reckless in there. Like, it's just not his style. He looks to get on top, you get a takedown, smother you, and fight safe. He's very risk adverse. You know what I mean? So then you get a guy in Holubau who's not even supposed to be here. Bless you. He's not even supposed to be here. And he's got nothing to lose, which shows me that he's going to be the one that's going to be pushing the pace. He's going to be the one that's going to be a little bit reckless. Where, Hubbard's the younger guy. He has a little bit more to lose. He still has some more tread on the tires. If he loses this fight, he can figure something else out. But I don't like this fight either. Because if Hubbard ends up, controlling the majority of this fight, it's going to be a very lackluster, slow, plodding type of fight. But if you're going to play this fight, like for me, I'm going to go more on the Holubau side just because of the upside of I know he's going to come out and he's going to look to make something happen. He's got nothing to lose here. This is a win-win situation for him, being at the age he is, being him not even supposed to be here. Like, he's going to come and he's going to lay down on the line where Hubbard's going to be more risk adverse. I don't like the fight from a DraftKings perspective, though, but if I'm going to have any ownership on it, I'm going to lean on the Holubau side.
Yeah, kind of where I'm at as well. Dog or pass again for me on this one. JSU, any different than last fight for you?
Yeah, I get it for DFS being dog or pass. I mean, I think Hubbard wins a decision, so that's what I bet, yesterday. But for DFS, I'm probably just going to be very low on this fight in general, and just hope it's kind of what Mad Lab said, where Hubbard kind of just controls it slow and controls the pace, and he wins in a decision where it doesn't score that great. I mean, he's 8,400 too, so in a decision win, he's not necessarily going to score that great unless he's getting just a ton of takedowns and control time, which, I mean, maybe he could, but I'm going to be lower here for sure.
Yeah, I kind of wish Petrovsky and Mearshart would have been after these two fights, and then we could have had 8 bangers, I think, to end the card. But it is what it is. Not expecting a huge amount of fireworks here. What do you got, Drew, for ownership, and what's your pick for the fight?
Yep, I got 25% for Hubbard, and we'll call it 20% for Holubau. Yeah, if anything, I think Hollowbow's in play as a cheaper dog that still has a path to finish. And it sounds like Mad Lab agrees he could be a little aggressive there. He grades out a little bit better than Gibson. So, like, if I had to pick between the two, it would be Hollowbow over Gibson. But, yeah, Hubbard, again, I think you just pay up a little bit more and you have so much more upside in tournaments. So there's very little exposure for me in this fight.
All right, that's Hubbard and Hollowbow. Let's get to what should be a more exciting fight. Gregory Rodriguez, big favorite here, minus 350 or so over Denise Tulin. Rodriguez, has finished, or his fights have been real quick for the most part. He scored well in DFS when he's won, certainly. And this fight, minus 650 to finish inside the distance. So certainly fireworks expected between Tulin and Rodriguez. Back to you, Mad Lab. What do you see between these two?
Yeah, real quick. I just wanted to ask you guys something. So I tried to post a comment in the thing, and it says this comment has failed to post to Run Pure Sports DFS Daily Fantasy Sports Picks. Is it because I cursed or something?
Did you say something? What'd you say?
I said, "What's up, penis lickers?" And then I just said hi. Then I just said hi after that.
We're banned in our own chat.
I don't know. Maybe you got banned in our own chat, like Drew said. I have no idea.
I do see AP in there in the chat, so maybe he's censoring you.
Yeah, did he just censor you?
No, I just said
honestly, I doubt it.
I wrote Holden's a little guy in chat, and Discord didn't let me like send it the first time. I had to like resend it again. I don't know why. So I don't know if that was like Discord's way of like censoring me either, but I didn't think that was that bad, but I don't know. Maybe it was censoring you, Mad Lab.
Well, I just said hi though, and it didn't say anything. It says the same thing.
You said more than hi. I mean,
no. In a separate comment just now, I said
you're on timeout. It's probably got like a 30-second timer.
Yeah,
just try again next week.
We have a one-strike policy here at RPS, so you're never allowed to comment ever again after that.
Funny though.
That is good.
All right, we're at the Rodriguez and Tulin fight.
Yeah. There we are. Go ahead.
All right. So, this is crazy, this fight, too, because, look, obviously everybody knows, Rodriguez and, the upside for him to get a finish here. And obviously Vegas shows that. But the one thing that does concern me about Rodriguez, if you watch his last fight, the way he got knocked out is very, very concerning to me. Because when you get knocked out, you're usually getting knocked out by the punches and the kicks that you don't see. That's why you get knocked out. Your brain's not ready for it. He got knocked out looking directly on the center line by basically a really stiff jab he got put down by. So that's kind of concerning to me. The thing that I would say that is a very high probability for him in this fight, and a lot of people are kind of overshadowing, is that Rodriguez is an extremely high-level grappler. He's a lot more high-level in grappling than he is in striking, but he's got this blood taste in his mouth that he tasted a couple knockouts. He's got good power, and that's what usually happens when you get your first knockout. It happened to Gilbert Burns, happens to a lot of these guys. But when you're coming off a knockout loss like that, especially one like that where you're getting knocked out by a stiff jab that you're looking down on the center line, as your team, as your coach, you're telling these guys, bro, like, this is mixed martial arts. It's not kickboxing. It's not. Take this guy to the ground and you're going to sub him. I think he's very live for a submission here if he takes that path. I think that if that's the path of least resistance, I think if he gets a takedown right out of the gate, he could sub this guy in the first round. So that's that's the path I'm hoping that he takes. I'm hoping he doesn't stand and slang with this guy, because this dude got power. This kid can crack. So I'm going to say that Rodriguez is going to take that path, and if he takes that path, you're looking at a first round sub. The minute he takes him down, he's going to find something. He's going to slice to him like butter. He's going to find something and sub him. So if he doesn't, then obviously we're all going to be shitting in our pants a little bit, like fucking a bunch of babies that ate just baby food. But I'm going to go highly exploding on Rodriguez here. I'm pretty, might be even a little over the field on him, to be honest with you. And Tulin, I'm really not going to pay too much attention to. I might have a couple on him just to, hedge my bets a little bit, but I like Rodriguez here all day, possibly in the first or second round.
Yeah, Rodriguez is a pick for me too. I think he's on the record. Someone, I believe, posted it in our Discord JSU interview with Rodriguez, saying he's going to try to learn from that last fight and go to his strength, which is the grappling, the submission game, like Mad Lab said. I believe we have a bet in, best bets obviously over at Run Pure Sports, plus 225 on the sub for Rodriguez. Not sure if it's still out there, but was at one point. But yeah, that's my pick too. Kind of seems like the, chalky pick, but hey, still a nice plus number. And from a DFS perspective, I do think Rodriguez gets the job done early here. Your thoughts, JSU?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you guys. And what Madlab said, that was like exactly what he said in the video, was pretty much once I got my first knockout, it just felt so good. And I just wanted to keep knocking people out because it felt so good to like get the knockout and everything. But he did say in that video that he needs to go back to what got him there, which was that, he is a high level grappler, like Madlab said. And this dude is a fish out of water, Tulin, when it comes to him getting to when you get him to the mat, he struggles big time. So I'm with Madlab. I think this could be an early sub here. I bet it already. I think he could get a sub in the first round. And I'm sure the numbers moved a little bit. I don't know what the first round sub was. I took him just by submission. It was like plus 220 or whatever you said, DC. Probably moved.
200 still out there for Rodriguez by submission on DraftKings. So
yeah, I love it. I'm going to be heavy on that bet for sure. And 9,500 for Rodriguez in DraftKings. I will say though, Tulin has a path though, because if this is a standing fight where he just decides to bang, Tulin is definitely more live on the feet in a brawl type of setting than people will give him credit for. So I would understand if you're like 150ing, if you're playing a lot in DFS, having both sides of this fight. Because if it does become like a brawl where they're just throwing down, he could definitely get a finish. So for DFS, you could have both sides of this fight. For betting, though, I'm going to be very high on the Rodriguez sub.
Yeah, that makes sense. So Rodriguez, we know, out of his own mouth, he said he can kind of fall in love with the hands a little bit. And sometimes you get in the cage and the bloodlust hits, right? And you forget your game plan. It happens all the time. So I don't mind that call. I do think, though, you definitely want exposure to this fight, even if you're on the other side, because Tulin very cheap, and his route to victory probably leaves him with a decent score. John Kelly, DFS there.
John Kelly, the cold plunge kid.
Yeah, he's I've been following his stuff on Twitter for a while. He's got some good picks, so he's on the Rodriguez sub with us as well. Dwayne, G-Rod fight to the level of competition, expect a fist fight. Could happen. If you think that's how it's going to go down, I would be on the Tulin side, especially in DFS at 6,700. Let's go to you, Drew, to wrap it up on Tulin and Rodriguez. What do you got for ownership and your pick for the fight?
Yeah, I got Rodriguez at 36% owned. Definitely want to be overweight that at 9,500 for Rodriguez, but I will have some Tulin. I got him at 14% owned, and honestly, like JSU finished up there, I think his path is early and it's standing with a knockout. Like that's his path to a win. At 6,700, if I was playing 20 max, I'd have 3 lineups with Tulin. If I was playing 150, I'd have 20 lineups, something like that. So I still think Tulin should be in your pool if you're, building the 10, 20 plus lineup pool. But Rodriguez is my pick to win. I do think he finishes inside the distance, but I will hedge a little bit with Tulin.
Makes sense. That's Tulin and Rodriguez. Let's get to the last fight before the main card. Brad Tavares, Chris Weidman. It is Tavares, pretty big favorite here, minus 250. Weidman coming off, I think, a full 2-year layoff, pretty close to it, over 2 years actually at this point. He's had certainly an interesting kind of up and down career, highest of the highs and frankly lowest of the lows for Weidman. So yeah, I think there's some question marks going into this one. Mad Lab, interested to hear your breakdown because
I know I know why JSU's laughing.
This is bullshit. No, seriously, this is bullshit. If I was hosting this show right now, let me tell you right now, I'd be getting laughed at by every single person on this panel.
I'm laughing.
Yeah, you're only laughing, though, because I started
No,
laughing.
I was going to say something, but I didn't think anyone else.
I butcher the pronunciation.
Weidman.
Yeah, my bad.
Hey, some people like weed. It's fine.
Like a dispensary in California, Weidman products.
Hey, he hasn't fought in 2 years. Give me a break. I'm new to the game, right? I'm one of those guys that just jumped in during COVID season, as Mad Lab has pointed out many, many times in the past. So, all right, correct me on the pronunciation and your pick for the fight here, Mad Lab.
All right, so this is interesting, this fight, to be honest with you, because if you look at Weidman, it's Weidman, but it's Weidman.
Weed man, come on.
Yeah, so if you look at Weidman, this is a guy who honestly I thought he was overrated for a long time. And if you look at his path, I think I was in the circuit with him when he was in the regionals in New York and New Jersey, and there was 2 guys in New Jersey, New York that were really high end on the regionals, and it was Uriah Hall and Weidman. And those guys, like everybody waited for these two to clash. We would always be talking in the gym, when are these guys going to fight? When are these guys going to fight? And everybody thought Uriah Hall was like the new prodigy. Like this guy was going to come out like the striking version of BJ Penn. Then when they both came off Ring of Combat into the UFC, obviously we know the turn that it took. You know, Uriah Hall ended up getting all these mental problems where he just couldn't make it all, you know, work in concert together. And he had Weidman, who took a great path. He had some really good things happen to him in his path. But if you look at his record, like, okay, he beat Anderson Silva. People look at that and was like, holy shit, he beat him twice. The first time he beat him, he literally caught him when Silva was showboating. You know, he got the win. He shouldn't have been showboating, but that's how he won the fight. The second fight he fought him, Silva breaks his leg the same way Weidman broke his leg in the last fight. So it's like you look at those two wins. If you really didn't watch the fights and you really didn't understand, you can be kind of deceived by that. But here's the thing. He's back on it. He's back after this break. I had a very similar break to what he had, and it takes a very long time to recover from it. But when you do recover from it, the problem is in your brain. You wonder, like, is it gonna withstand? Is it gonna break again? The facts are no, it's not going. You have a titanium rod in there. It's stronger than it was before. But mentally, it's a gruesome injury. Like I was in a wheelchair for 6 months. You know, so the problem now, when you look at the marketing, the UFC loves Chris Weidman. They're not going to put him in any type of danger. So how do we match up Chris Weidman with a guy that's not a low-level guy, but a guy that's got a big name and really takes away the things that Chris Weidman has been flawed on, which is his chin. He's been knocked out 5 times, you know, in his last couple of fights. So who can we give him? We can give him Brad Tavares. He's a big name. He doesn't hit hard. He goes to the decision. He's got good wrestling defense, but not, you know, if Weidman really pressures the wrestling, he's going to have the advantage there. So he's the perfect matchup for Weidman to come back because it's Brad Tavares, a big name. He's not really super young, but he's still solid. And he brings all these things to the table that we know Weidman has a hole in, that he's not really going to threaten him that much. The problem is we haven't seen Weidman in 2 years. We really don't know what he's going to bring to the table. But I will say this, from a DraftKings perspective, I'm expecting Weidman to be low owned, and I think he has a lot of legitimate paths to win this fight. You know what I mean? So if he ends up getting knocked out by Tavares, I think he's got to wrap it up and go. You're not supposed to get knocked out by Brad Tavares. You know what I mean? So if he ends up getting knocked out by him, then I think his chin is completely gone. I think he's done. But there's a situation here where I think Weidman is very live in this spot. If he can string some takedowns, if he can get some top control, I think he's very live for a win here. So from a DraftKings perspective, I'm definitely higher on the Weidman side because Tavares at 9,000 just isn't sitting right with me. If you look at 100 plus in his last 5 fights, he's 0-5. His current market value at 9,000 is 0-5. You know, so if you look at that, nothing is telling me or screaming at me that this dude is going to cover the $9,000 price range unless his chin is completely dusted and he knocks him out. So I'm more on the Weidman side from a DraftKings perspective. I think there's a lot more value there at 7,200.
Makes sense to me. I mean, like you said, Tavares, even in the last, 5 wins, I mean, his DFS scores 75, 56, 81, 73, 54. Like, those scores are not going to get it done from a DFS perspective. JSU now, of course, things could change. Maybe he gets the first round KO or something, but there's really no reason to expect that. So I'm with Mad Lab on the Weed Man. JSU, throw to you. What do you got between Weidman and Tavares?
I mean, this was perfectly planned. Like, this is exactly who you want Weidman to go up against if you're the UFC. Like Mad Lab said, a guy who doesn't have the power, so he's not going to be feared. Even though he has good takedown defense, Weidman's not going to be, fearful of coming in, shooting in, and trying to get the takedowns or anything like that. So it's just a perfect spot for him. And I'm with Mad Lab. I think he's very live. I bet him plus 500 for a decision win. I think he wins by decision. I think that's how he wins. And I think at that point, plus 500, I'll take my stab there. Last week, I hit AJ Dobson at plus 500 for a decision win. I think Weidman comes in, and I think he wins this by decision. If he's anything like he was, obviously we don't know with the injury how he's going to look exactly. But I do know that Brad Tavares, the things that I would worry about with Weidman, I'm less worried about when he's going up against someone like Brad Tavares. So it makes me a little more comfortable to take the shot on him. And for DFS at 7,200, yeah, why not? If I like it, if I'm going to bet a guy to win a decision, I'll take take a few lineups and take some shots on Weidman here at 7,200.
Makes sense to me. I mean, I think if Weidman wins this fight, he's probably getting at least a couple takedowns along the way. And at 7,200 probably scores decently well if that's the case. Drew, back to you. Weidman and Tavares, what do you got for the numbers, ownership-wise, and your pick for the fight?
Yeah, this one's tough. Hearing what you guys are saying, and I'm struggling to grasp it. I understand the Weidman side. So as far as ownership goes, Tavares I have at 25%. Tavares, and I got Weidman at 17%. So Tavares is interesting because his ownership's getting pulled off from Sterling getting a ton, Petrosky getting a ton. And like I see him, he's like plus 500 to finish KO in round 2, which is like a 40% implied odds. So like Tavares, I actually have some interest in. I hear what you're saying about Weidman, so maybe I'll bump up his ranking for me a little bit. It doesn't rank out that well. I have him just under the field actually at 17% as an optimal ownership percentage. But it sounds like Vegas is wrong, and they're not expecting Weidman to come out and compete here with Tavares. But for me, I think Tavares is in play for DFS. I think Weidman's fine at 7,200 as well. So I'm a little bit different here, I guess. I think Tavares seems a little bit stronger on the feet.
Makes sense. Yeah. All right. Let's get to the main card before we do a bit of business to go over. We are running a really strong promo here at Run Pure Sports. You can use the promo code NFL20. Gets you 20% off for life, any and all packages, as long as you do not cancel your subscription. One of the best promos we will run all year, frankly, anytime. And obviously with the NFL, 3 weeks away now, fast approaching. Good time to get in. We've got Mad Lab write-ups for all the fights. We've, of course, got all other sports going on, all our picks, all that good stuff over at runpuresports.com. So join us, NFL20 for 20% off for life. Mad Lab, why don't you take a moment to talk about what you got going on over at your site?
Yeah, we got a kind of a similar thing, just to kind of flipped. We have obviously all the MMA content, full breakdowns, all my wagers, private Discord, private live stream that we do after this. Before the fight, we're doing a pretty good giveaway for members starting this week. Every week, what I'm going to do is I have so much boxing and MMA memorabilia from like back in the day. So we're starting off with like a 4-quadrant thing where we have, the original posters of Hearns and Leonard Duran, all the old school fights, the original posters that you would see in bars and stuff like that, some Funko Pops. So every week the winner will get their choice of one of those things. And then what we're doing from now until the lead up of the NFL season, we're going to be offering our packages on our site. And for free, you will get the RPS playbooks, I believe they're called, posted on our site until obviously the season starts. Then that'll be a separate price. So we have a lot of things going on over there. Like I said, we couldn't be happier with joining with you guys, dude. I love doing the show with you guys every week. It's good to be back, mingling with DC too, because me and DC have a history together. No, I'm serious. I'm happy we're talking again. So yeah, a lot of good things on both sides, RPS and the Mad Lab MMA.
So are we going to get Mad Lab to corner DC if he fights Siege?
Dude, I've been fucking telling him I was going to corner him for like 20 of his fights already. That never happened.
Well, you don't know. There might be 20 more coming up. We don't know what DC.
One time I thought DC was really going to do it because you were supposed to come to New Jersey, remember?
Yeah.
He was supposed to come to New Jersey for a couple
weeks.
I've
been willing to fight the Siege from day one. I'll stand by it. But
he was just supposed to come to New Jersey for a couple weeks, and I was going to train him for like 2 weeks, just like teach him like basic fundamentals of hands and stuff like that. He was like dieting, and then all of a sudden one night I saw him like a video in his apartment. He was making like fucking pizza in the oven at like 3 a.m. drunk.
Oh, that was the Randone hype video. One of the great.
Oh yeah.
You know what, Mad Lab? Don't tempt me. I might just come out for fun and have you train
me.
Come
down, dude. Anytime, bro. Come down anytime you want, bro. Anytime. I'm in California.
I'd love to do that.
I'm in California now. Come down anytime you want, dude. Yeah. We'll throw the gloves on. We'll throw some hands.
We'll have a RPS Mad Lab.
God, would that be good seeing Mad Lab and me sparring?
Well, no, that's how you know you got a good sparring partner, when you guys are just kind of flowing and you're just touching each other.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the main card. We got Marlon Chito Vera, Pedro Munoz, This one of the bigger favorites to end up going to the cards. Fight goes to decision. Best you can get is minus 230. Obviously, two longtime UFC veterans here. Madlab, I did read your breakdown for this card. I think one of those breakdowns where, we can only get it from you. I thought it was really interesting reading your take on both these fighters and how you expect this fight to go down. It is Marlon Vera, who is a pretty decent favorite, minus 180 or so. Talk to us. Chito Vera, Pedro Munoz. What do you see here?
I mean, I don't hate Vera being a favorite, but I think the price could be a little bit closer. Vera is a guy who, he's kind of interesting, right? Because common knowledge will tell you, like, you got to get in this guy's ear and you got to say, bro, like, this isn't boxing. This isn't 10 and 12 rounds. You got to get going early. Your feel out process should only be about a minute. Then you got to start going. This guy takes the whole fucking round, to really start dialing, calculating stuff in. And he banks on his durability and his power to finish you late. That's how he always finishes fights. Someone like Munoz, who has a chin of granite, that's something you're tampering with. That's a dangerous thing, because if he drops the first round, comes back, and it's a tight second round, and then all of a sudden now he wins a third round, you could be looking at a split or possibly even losing the fight. I went back and forth with this fight, but then after watching film and after really, really thinking about it, it's hard not to pick Vera. The reason why is because the one thing that he does that Munoz is going to play into that trap is, if you watch Munoz, this guy kind of he mirrors you, and he's always coming into the pocket. He's trying to back you up onto the warning track. And guys, when I say warning track, I mean that like black line around the ring. I call it the warning track. So he's trying to back you up there, and he's just pressing. You can't do that with someone like Vera, because this is a guy who throws a lot of front kicks. He uses his length very, very well, and he's going to sting you every time you try. He's a counter fighter. I think Munoz is going to have a lot of problems getting in and figuring him out. The thing where he's going to have his success is if he takes Vera down. Vera is very accepting off his back. This guy's got good grappling, but he feels like, right, well, I could stay here for a minute, let the round die out. I'm going to get him back on the feet again in the next round. He can't have that mindset. If he hits the ground, he's got to defensively grapple. He's got to get up, or he's got to continue to throw those front kicks and use his length to keep Munoz honest. So Munoz is definitely live here. But I see this fight going to the cards. Both of these guys have never been finished. They both got chins of steel. I think if there's going to be a finish in this fight, it would probably be on the Vera side, because he does hit with a lot of thud. But 8,600, it's risk. It's a risky play at 8,600 for a fight that possibly could go to the cards, when that first round he might not be uber active. He's a 5-round fighter. Munoz is more of a 3 and 5 round fighter. So I am going with Vera here. But like I said, it's a tough call for me, because I don't see any of these guys finishing each other.
Yeah, I'm with you. And JC, from a DFS perspective, this one feels like you almost have to win a parlay to get there DFS-wise. Like, you got to get the winner, and you got to have the fight kind of go a little bit different as expected, even if you pick the right winner, right, to score well enough. So I'm kind of fading this fight, but interested to hear your thoughts, JC.
It's not a bad idea to fade it for DFS. I mean, I'm going to go dog or pass, but I would be lighter on the fight in general. I do think Munoz wins. I get what Madlab's saying about him wanting to get in the pocket, though. That's the one thing I will say though about Munoz. Not only is he tough, not only does he also pack a punch, and Chris Gutierrez found that out real fast, because he dropped him right away in that fight, and then he was terrified after that. But this dude comes in and he has good game plans. Like, if you watch that fight against Sean O'Malley, the dude threw no punches in the first round. It was just all kicks. He knew that Sean was just a little quicker than him when it came to his hands. And so he was just throwing all kicks, and he got ahead on the cards. Now, obviously, that fight ended, with the eye poke or whatever, and that was unfortunate. But I'm just saying, this guy knows who he's going up against. I feel like he's going to have a good game plan for Vera. He can also grapple. Obviously, Vera can grapple as well, but I do see that as something he could utilize if he wanted to. And I think Vera's problem is going to be getting behind. He gets behind on those scorecards, and then he has to try and make his way back up. I keep thinking of the Corey fight where his corner is just imploring him, dude, you got to go. You got to go. Like, you can't keep waiting. And that's his issue. I could see him losing round 1, and then Munoz finding a way to steal round 2 or 3, where Vera in the end is trying to just knock him out. And the dudes also both guys got great chins, like Madlab said. and the fight goes to the cards, and Munoz somehow wins a split decision. So I think this fight for sure goes to the cards. Both these guys are tough as hell. I understand people, picking Vera. I'm going to go the Munoz side. I think he comes in. If he can steal round one, I'm going to feel very, very confident about this too.
My favorite bet for this fight is the split decision. I can see a slow round one that goes either way.
I like that.
Yeah, I could see this one being a split decision when it's all said and done. Mad Lab looks like he's up to shenanigans.
He's writing something down.
Yeah.
What is he writing down?
I want to see what everyone's pick on this fight is.
Okay.
We'll find out in a moment, but let's go to you, Drew, for the numbers and your pick. Don't get it wrong, because Mad Lab.
Yeah. Shit.
He just wrote down JSU and fucking whatever.
The life sentence down on that paper.
Don't come with me, Drew.
I'm not. We're gonna have to head some way and then to split off the punishment, I think. I have Vera at 22% and Munoz at 18%. Yeah, I really go into a decision. Obviously, Vera at 8,600 doesn't work. At 8,600, it's not going to work. I think at 7,600, Munoz, it looks like if it would be slow, I don't think that works either. So I'm pretty low on this fight overall. Again, 18% for Munoz is incredibly high, assuming this goes to the cards and is competitive. So for me, I'll just do I'll side with Vera. I'm not going to go with JSU's side. But I'm not going to have much exposure in DFS. It doesn't make much sense to me. I just don't see how this can be an optimal fight.
I like being on my own side. Let's go, DC.
No, wait. What does DC got?
I got Vera as well.
All right, so here we go.
Yes.
Bet time.
Yes.
Oh, bet time. Ready? What are we betting, JSU? Not money. We'll bet like something we have to do on the show next week.
I mean, what do you think? I don't know. Do I need to come in with like 2 teddy bears in my shirt? Or I don't know.
He came in with a cub in his shirt. He didn't even get a punishment for that.
We'll think about it. We'll think about it so we don't.
Here's what I think we should do. We should all make sure we're in, the single entry RPS DFS tournament. Whoever finishes last in that has to do some sort of punishment on the next show.
You got to send me the link.
Yeah,
we'll send you a link. I'll send you a link.
I know you're incapable of getting a link to anything on your own, Mad Lab, so I'm not sure you.
Dude, I'm the worst.
We can't even get Mad Lab in the Discord. It's freaking ridiculous. I've been trying to get this guy in the Discord for like 4 weeks.
You don't have to do it right now. You don't have to do it right now.
But Mad Lab, though, you think this fight goes to the cards, right?
Yeah, I mean, if there's a finish, I think Vera finishes him.
I agree that if it's a finish, it's more likely Vera, but you think this goes to the cards. You think Vera by decision?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're getting some suggestions. Jason Graham says, Das Boot, chug a beer out of it. Sorry, Jason, not really a big drinker, so can't do that personally.
I can't tell if DC's talking for me or not because I know he's not talking about himself.
Oh, no. Yeah. I gave it up, JSU. At least for the show.
I think you have to chug a gallon of water on the live stream.
Dude, I just
throws up.
I could drink this whole thing right now. Dude.
That's what I'm saying. Whoever JSU drank it, he would just like explode, I think.
Yeah.
I never tried jugging a gallon of water, but
dude, I'll tell you the reason why I'm drinking so much water is because the other day I went to this place that Anthony's wife told me about in Dana Point for pizza. It's brand new, and I'm always looking for good pizza here. So I went, and bro, I don't know what was in the pizza. It was really good, but I don't know what was in the pizza. But literally, when I was walking back to my truck, dude, I thought I shit myself, right? I really did. I thought I shit myself.
And you're blaming on the pizza.
I had like a 45-minute drive home in traffic. And when I got home, like I took off my shirt just to go to the bathroom, and my stomach for 2 days has been so fucking bloated from it.
So you're a no shirt shit taker too.
No, I just was sweating. My stomach looked like I was pregnant, dude. And for 2 days, Anthony even stopped here yesterday, and I was like, he asked me if I wanted lunch. I was like, bro, I can't even fucking look at food right now. I've just been killing water.
So have you not ate since then?
What?
Have you not ate anything since?
No,
then?
I've eaten, but I'm saying I haven't.
Okay.
I've just been eating like every time I eat, like I still feel that like bloat.
Yeah.
You know.
Big T, notorious shirt remover when doing the business.
He says that's the only way to do it.
Anywhere.
He says that's the only way to do it.
Why Big T removes his shirt when he fucking takes it? He probably plays with his
shirt
shit
off
when he fucking shit.
But he says he does it everywhere. Like he goes into Walmart and does it in their bathroom.
Get out of here.
No, that's what he said.
That's what he said.
He posted
He said no
pictures of
matter where he's going, if he's got to take a shit, shirt's off.
That's fucking weird, bro. He's probably one of those dudes. He like plays with his nipples in the stall.
Especially if there's a mirror on that back of the door. Looks at himself.
Oh shit.
He must not be watching. I feel like he'd be in the chat defending himself.
He's traveling.
Probably driving right now, like fucking.
Yeah,
like,
he's
like
driving. They're probably listening, but driving right now.
Yeah. All right. We'll keep it moving. A few distractions on this show. Next fight, I think a really interesting one. Damon Blackshear coming off the impressive win literally a week ago. Obviously didn't take any damage to turn around a week later and come in as a relatively big underdog here. He's at plus 180. Mario Batista minus 220 or so. Obviously, Mad Lad, there's more that goes into handicapping this fight than just kind of the skills of each fighter when you've got, the 1 week turnaround. I know you're probably going to make the case about the dual weight cut and all that. I'll say this, based on, the scale pictures and Blackshear, like if he's struggling with that dual weight cut, he did a good job of hiding it because he looked pretty energetic and I thought ready to go for this one. So yeah, Blackshear, Batista, a lot going on here. Interested to hear your breakdown of it.
Yeah, I mean,
Blackshear too. Before Mad Lab gives his breakdown, I want to ask him a question. What would this fight be lined if this wasn't a week? Like if Blackshear took this, but he had a full camp, he didn't fight a week ago. What would the line be?
I mean, I would think it'd be a little closer. I think I got to be honest with you. I agree with the line.
But you also wouldn't have the recency bias of everyone seeing Blackshear win
that's true.
Yeah, I mean, it'll definitely be tighter. I mean, it'll be a lot tighter. But I'm just saying, I do either which way. Like I agree with this line. I think people are looking at Blackshear. I think the twister is baked into it. You know what I mean? Which the thing that people don't understand about the twister, forget about the move itself. To be able to do a twister, you got to remember, it's almost like people get stage fright when they go and they grab a microphone and they fucking talk. So just to be able to attempt that, to have the mindset on the ground, to know where you are, to know your steps and stuff like that, you have to be a very confident grappler to even attempt a move like that. It's a very high level move, very high risk, high reward. But the thing with this is people got to take that out of the equation. Yeah, he hit a twister, but who did he hit it on? That's what you got to look at. You also got to look at this is a 7-day notice. He did not look like he had a really bad weight cut. Like the guy looked incredible on the scale. He looked fresh as a daisy. But it's still, you had to cut weight twice in 7 days. You still had a fight that you were preparing for, your adrenaline, your emotions, the mentality of it, the interviews, the media. And now you're on this card where it's a huge card and you're getting all this shine, you're getting all this media. You still got to cut weight. You got to travel again. It's it's a lot on your body. Forget about it. It's just a lot on your body. And even mentally, if you think like I'm there, I'm dialed in, I'm ready to go, like your body sometimes is going to say like, look, hold on, what the fuck is going on here? You got a guy in Bautista who a lot of people are forgetting about because of this twister, that this dude is literally a top 15 guy right now. Right now, this dude is a top 15 guy. He's got sick grappling. He's got good striking. He comes from a really good camp. He's had a full camp to get ready for this. So his body is fresh. So, I understand where the love is coming from Blackshear, but Bautista is by all means the favorite here. And I honestly, personally think Bautista can get this done inside the distance. So I don't hate his price tag at 9,100. I will not be blind and stupid with Blackshear at a borderline punt play at 7,100. But I think people forget how good this guy Bautista really is.
Yeah, I think that's all fair. I do like Blackshear as one of my favorite dogs on this card at 7,100. I do think if he gets the job done, he scores well, JSU. And I'm a little surprised this fight, basically a coin flip to go the distance. I would have thought had a better chance to finish inside the distance than that. But yeah, a lot going on. Really interesting fight. Interested to hear your thoughts, JSU.
I mean, it shows the respect for Blackshear too, right? I mean, it shows the respect they're giving to Blackshear that they think this goes to the cards. And honestly, I think this is a great fight. I mean, I wish Blackshear had a full camp where it wasn't a week ago, because I think the line would definitely be closer. I think he would be much better. He would have much better odds, honestly, because I think they're both really good fighters. Like, I'm not taking anything away from Batista, but I think Blackshear is a really good fighter, really good athlete. Obviously, we saw the submission, great grappler. He can stand and throw too. Dude's an athlete. Batista is just he's different, right? He's just like, he's really fast. Transitions are really good when he's grappling. Like this dude is legit as well, like Mad Lab said. And I just think, I would lean Batista. I do think he's the rightful favorite. I just think it's closer than what even the line says. The only issue is the fact that Blackshear fought literally 7 days ago. Like, that's pretty insane. So, yes, he finished it quickly. Yes, it was an awesome finish. But like Mad Lab said, who did he finish it against? It's not someone like Batista. Like, there's a different level between the two fighters. The fighter he's going to face today and the fighter he fought last week. This is going to be a serious challenge. I wouldn't be stunned if Batista did finish him, because I think he's a stud too. I think both these guys are legit. And I think it's going to be a great fight. Honestly, we'll have shares in DFS of Blackshear because I think he's also dangerous. But yeah, I mean, from a pick standpoint, I think Batista is the rightful pick. If you're just picking the fight, that would be the way to go. But at 9K, I don't know how I'd rate him like Batista against the other 9K guys. Like, I like Weili more for sure. I think Rodriguez is up there if he gets an early finish. Like, and I think it could be competitive enough where Batista maybe gets it done, but he doesn't score as well in DraftKings as some of these other 9K guys do, just because I respect Blackshear enough in his ability. So I'm probably going to be lower from the 9K standpoint, guys, on Batista than the field.
Man, let me ask you a question. So Blackshear does fight out of Jackson Winklevoss camp, I believe, which I personally think is one of the better fights for
Jackson. Wait, we say that again?
Jackson Wink, right?
Yeah. What do you know about? Say the whole name.
No.
See, now everyone's afraid. DC,
Yeah,
I wish you were on that
show.
show.
I did all these.
I think you said Jackson Winklehoff, right?
No.
He said
It was
Winklevoss.
something like that. I wish DC was on the show and I was just getting killed left and right. Like, I maybe got two guys' names right the entire show.
I let my guard down. Normally, when you get the cards with all the all the Russians on it, I spend time prepping, doing all the getting all the names right, and let my guard down the show. But anyway, my question, to me, that's a camp that's smart, that's cautious, and I think they wouldn't have taken this fight on 7 days' notice if they didn't think Blackshear could turn it around. Any thoughts there in your opinion on that camp in general?
Yeah, I mean, listen, first of all, you never turn down fights, dude. Like, you never turn down fights, especially when you have an opportunity, when he came out as clean as he did. They're very smart. They've had their issues in the past. Obviously, they were two partners at one time that kind of separated. But they do. You're exactly right. They have those fighters in there that are very calculated, strategic, and they fight very risk adverse and cautious. Blackshear doesn't really fit that mold. I mean, when you look at Holly Holm and you look at all the people over there, they're more calculated. He's more of an unchained guy. But he does also bring value to the school. You know what I mean? So if this guy comes out and he's representing them, he hit a twister. Now he comes out and he beats a guy like Batista. Like, all of a sudden now that puts them heavier on the map again. So they're not going to turn it down. Obviously, they want to protect their fighter, but he wasn't in the war. So yeah, I think any camp would send him in.
Fair enough. Let's go back to you, Drew, then, for the numbers for Blackshear and Batista, and then your pick for the fight as well.
Yeah, I have Batista at 25%, and I have Blackshear at 25% as well.
Okay.
Yeah, Batista, if he was to win inside the distance, it's going to be, round 3, maybe round 2. And I just don't think that cuts it with the other fighters up there in the 9K range. So I'm quite a bit lower on Batista. I'm cool with Blackshear, but I would be underweight the field. Like 25% Blackshear seems a little bit overhyped. And certainly my rankings have me down at like 17%. So I'll have some Blackshear, but it'll be underneath the field. And Bautista certainly underneath the field. I might just X him out. If he does win inside the distance, it's not going to win. It's not going to be one of the optimal 9K fighters, in my opinion.
All right. That is Bautista and Blackshear. We'll go to the next fight on the card. Biggest favorite on the card is Ian Gary, minus 500 over longtime UFC veteran Neil Magny. I think Gary Madlab rightfully the favorite here and sizable favorite. 500, minus 500 seems like a lot for someone as game as Neil Magny can be. But yeah, we'll throw it to you. Do you think that line is justified? And then how do you think this fight goes down?
I think the line is actually ludicrous, to be honest with you. And I'm going to be real with you guys. I'm not going to be one of these Sean O'Malley casuals and tell you that the fact of the matter is the rightful side is Gary. He really should win this fight, so I'm not going to sit here. So to be educated, I'm going to say, yeah, Gary's the right side. But I will tell you this. These are the fights that Magny wins. Magny wins these fights. Magny is notorious for beating guys he should not beat. I've seen him do it his entire career. It's just his style of fight. It's just the way he brings – you can't really train for a guy like Magny. He's very awkward. He's very lanky for the division, and he wants to do one thing. He wants to lock you up onto the cage, and he wants to just make it slow and plodding. For a guy like Gary, that's a fucking nightmare because this guy wants to open up and use his range and tee off on you. So that's the problem. Another problem I got with this fight is Magny is notorious for taking short notice fights and winning. This is a guy who's always in shape. He's never out of shape. He never allows himself to get out of shape. He also, when you go into the press conferences with this guy and you go into the weigh-ins and stuff like that, he's one of the most respectful guys you'll ever meet. He'll shake your hand. If you don't shake your hand, he'll pull away. He don't talk trash. When you bring somebody's family into this fight like Gary did, that sometimes gives somebody a little bit different motivation, and the problem I see with this fight now that's good on the Magny side is he was there already anyway. This guy was cornering Austin Hubbard. So he was going to be there no matter what. Like I said, he's always in shape. He gets the call. Do you want to fight? Of course, he says yes. He calls his wife. Listen, I'm here. I'm covering Austin. I can get a paycheck out of this fight. I'm here. I'm going to fight. Okay, honey, fight. So he was going into this fight to get a paycheck, maybe win, put his best effort for. But now after this, calling him a child abuser and stuff like that, this is a whole different. This is personal for him now. This guy is literally going to come out and fucking fight. That was a very bad move on Gary's end, and I honestly think that Magny is very live in this spot. I really, really do. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm going to be underexposed on Gary in this spot. And I'm going to be a little bit higher on Magny after I saw what happened at that press conference. Like, you don't fuck with somebody's family. That gives you a little bit motivation. A guy like Magny who has that style that can give Gary troubles. I'm pulling up back a lot of shares on Gary on this one, and I'm going to be going a little bit heavier on Magny.
If Magny wins this fight, Mad Lab, how does he do it?
Decision. He's very durable. He's not easily finished. This is a guy who has a susceptibility to being submitted, but knocking him out, good luck. He's not a guy who you're going to knock out all too often. He can be knocked out, but he doesn't give you the opportunity. Because when you knock people out, you got to knock them out in range. He takes your punches. He takes your space away. So if he comes into this fight and says, fuck it, I'm just going to take this kid's fucking space away and clinch him against Kane, let him figure it out, Gary's going to lose a lot of valuable time, even if he does win. Because he's defensively, he's going to try to have to find his space. Magny's not just going to stand and trade with him. So either way, if he wins or loses, that Gary price tag, 9,600, is way too high for me against a guy like Magny.
I'm with you. I lean the fade on Gary in DFS. I do wonder, JSU, though, I think there's a chance. Normally, if you get a $6,600 fighter like Magny and they do pull off the upset, like, they're going to get on the optimal, right? Just because of the structure of DFS. I do think there's a chance, like Madlab said, that he kind of wins a boring decision, even if he does pull it off. So I'm kind of leaning on being under on both of these fighters, but interested to hear your thoughts on this one, JSU.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with Madlab in a way where I think I'm going to be under on Gary and a little more just from the DFS side on Magny, because he can present problems, I guess, for Ian Gary, who wants to be, have space and range and stuff. And Magny's going to take that away from you, right? He's going to clinch. He's going to dirty box. He's going to get you up against the cage. And he's just going to make it not the fight that Ian wants. That's not the fight that Gary wants to fight. And at that price tag, I mean, if he wins even the decision, he's probably on the optimal if he wins some type of decision, because you got to imagine he's going to have some cage control time or something like that. Maybe he gets takedown, maybe not. But I don't think for DFS, I don't think you want to at least just totally nix him out of your pool. You know what I mean? I would definitely have some shares of Magny, and I'll be underweight on Ian Gary, even though, I, like Madlab said, like, he's, rightfully the pick. The line is crazy. Obviously it is crazy at -500. That's just insane, but I understand, going that way. But for me, I'm not betting this fight, honestly, not really having anything from the bet side. I think Gary probably does win, but Magny is live. I'll give Mad Lab that for sure.
I'm with you. That's 3 for 3. Thinking Gary is the rightful favorite, but maybe not as big a favorite as the number suggests. Let's go to you, Drew. What do you got for ownership numbers here and your pick?
So I got 31% for Gary, and Magny, I have him at, get this, 12%. So it won't take much to go overweight Magny if you want to take some stabs on him at 6,600. And again, you're just trying to take a path that if he does win at 6,600, anything that he does to win, be 55 points, and it might be enough to be optimal. Probably is enough to be optimal. Gary's opportunity is definitely limited. I think I want to still be around the field, though. The way I want to structure my lineups this week is definitely going to be kind of top heavy and punt off some low 7K guys. So I still will have some Gary. I'll be around the field. I'll be interested to see what JBC and Big T come in if they're going to post theirs later tonight. But I don't disagree that maybe that line's a little bit too deep, and I don't disagree that maybe Rodriguez is even a better play in a vacuum or a blanket. But Gary, I still think is still dangerous, and with the way the lineup construction looks for me, at least tonight, he's going to be around 30%.
I would assume that they're over the field on Gary. Just at least
and you can do it
just from talking to him. I think he's going to be over the field on Gary, but.
And honestly, he's probably one of the easier 9K guys to go over the field, at least compared to like Rodriguez and Wiley, which we'll talk about here in a second. But I just think that's the nature of this slate is to jam the expensive fighters and punt off a couple. I think that's the proper way to go about it.
All right, that is Gary and Magny. Let's get to the co-main event of the night. It is back to the women's division. Weili Zhang and Amanda Lemos. Weili is big favorite here, minus 330 or so. She scored pretty well in most of her wins, and this one favored to finish inside the distance. So this one should be another popular fight. Let's go back to you, Matt Lab. What do you see between these two?
Yeah, you got to look at the business end of this too. Like you always got to look at the business end of things when you're looking at fights. And when you look at Lemos, South American market, there's 450 million people on the South American market, right? Good fighter, Brazilian. We have had a lot of Brazilian champions, Jose Aldo and stuff like that. But when you look at the Asian market, it's 4.5 billion in populace. That's a big target audience. That the UFC does not want Lemos to win this fight. I mean, 450 million to 4.5 billion. That's a huge target audience. I mean, you got to look at it. It's a machine. It's a business. That's what they're doing. When you look at Lemos, where's her passive victory here? Like, she's very underappreciated. That I will tell you. Like, Lemos is a very underappreciated fighter. She's got a lot of power. She throws power into everything that she does. It's a division that power is really, minimized in this division. Not many girls have her type of power. She has that one punch knockout power with both hands. She's also a pretty good grappler. The problem with her, she does tend to fade. And in a 5-round fight against someone like Zhang, who is so well-rounded, who's so calculated, this is a girl who literally counts everything that she does, from jumping rope to jumping jacks to pull-ups. She's always counting. She's always being analytical in her mind. She's very well-rounded. She's got good power. She's got good grappling. Like, she's good everywhere, and she's got a fucking motor. We saw her in the fight against Joanna Jędrzejczyk, one of the greatest female fights we've ever seen. I mean, taking a beating and just keep coming and coming and coming and coming. I just find it really, really hard to buy into Lemos in this spot. I would buy into her more than some of the other dogs on this card. Like, I would buy into Lemos more than Sean O'Malley, but I just find it still hard to buy into her. I think Zhang gets this done inside the distance. I think at some point in the fight, I think she's just going to be too much, too smothering, taking her pick, either like ground and pound or submission. I wouldn't be totally shocked if Lemos comes out in the first 2 rounds and maybe catches her with something and rocks her. But it's hard really to pick against her. And I think with a 5-round fight, when you have girls that are going to throw this much volume, it's hard to just take a blind eye away from Zhang. So I know she's going to be heavily exposed, but I'm going to be one of those people.
Makes sense to me. I think, JC, this is a fight you want to be overweight on. Like Mad Lab said, Zhang has a motor and is going to, if he doesn't get knocked out early, right? Like, takedowns, high volume of striking, either it goes 5 rounds, and it's hard to imagine she doesn't score well in a 5-round win. or a finish at some point, which he's probably going to score well in that case. And then to me, I mean, if Lemos does pull off the upset at 7K, probably going to be an earlier finish, maybe with some decent striking volume. So I think she would score well. So I don't often say this about the women's fights, but this is one I do want to be overweight on.
Yeah, I think for me, Zhang's probably my favorite 9K fighter.
Yeah.
I think she's just got so many paths from a DFS perspective of getting a high score and scoring really well for DFS. So for that standpoint, I'm definitely going to be overweight on Zhang, and she'll probably be one of my highest owned fighters for DFS. And yeah, I think she does get it done inside the distance as well. So I'm with Mad Lab there. I'm going to be, overweight and, under the field for sure on Lemos, just because I'm going to be so high on Zhang as one of my top fighters.
Makes sense to me. Let's go to you, Drew. Wraps up here on Zhang and Lemos.
Yep, Zhang, I got it 45%, and I got Lemos at 23%. So just like JSU said, you definitely want exposure to this fight. It would not be the craziest thing to lock in Zhang, honestly. I think at 9,200, her paths to score, 120 points are pretty simple. So, Zhang's my pick here. It could even finish inside the distance. If it doesn't, it's still a good path at 9,200. And Lemos would just sprinkle. I think she's honestly over-owned a little bit, but it's because of the 5-round, and people just want to try to get exposure to that. So, 23% Lemos and 45% Wiley, probably one of the more popular women's fights we've seen in a long time.
Is that Sun Tzu, the Twitter Sun Tzu, or is that another Sun Tzu? Sun Tzu, what's up? Tony Lips, baby. Tony Lips.
I'm guessing it's probably him. Welcome to the show. California Pizza, JSU. What's your opinion? I know you're a pizza expert.
That would be the best thing ever if I just started tasting pizza, going around
pizza review guy,
pulling the Portnoy JSU and just spitting every single one of them out, but being like, oh, that wasn't the worst pizza I've ever had. I think people would get a kick out of it, honestly. So I don't know. I've never been to California actually, so might have to take Mad Lab up.
Open invite, bro. I got a nice place. I got 3 pools. Come down anytime you want.
It sounds like fun. I might have to take you.
And then Drew, when you come, I got the simulator here for you.
I know. We're gonna play some golf.
Yeah. You know what I'm gonna do later on? I don't even know where it is in the building. I'm gonna go find it. I'm gonna film it and I'll send it to you.
Actually, my little brother's one of his best buddies. He's out in San Diego and he works for a golf course. Drew. He's one of the golf pros at one of the nice courses out in San Diego. So we can go play rounds of golf if we go out there easily.
Yo, you know what? Real quick, a pizza story, and then we'll jump to the thing. When I was in college, dude, a bunch of guys on the team wanted me to go into a bench press competition in the sticks. I went to college in PA, in the sticks of fucking PA, and it just so happened it was a Mike Tyson fight on the night before the contest, and we were staying in this really small motherfucking hotel that said on a thing, we have HBO. Remember those fucking hotels? We have HBO.
Yeah.
So I was like, this place is fucking perfect. So we ended up going to this hotel. We ended up finding pizza because we wanted to carb up. We weighed in. We wanted to carb up. We ordered this fucking pizza from this fucking place. They deliver it to the fucking house, and there was a female field hockey team staying in the hotel with us. And I left the hotel for a little while. When I come back on the floor, the pizza was obviously there. I come back on the floor. I'm like, dude, why does it smell like fucking feet on this fucking floor? And as I got closer to the room, it got stronger and stronger and stronger. So I opened up the fucking door. It was the room. I opened up the pizza, bro. They had American cheese slices on the fucking pizza, bro. I wouldn't even eat it. I called the place up. It was right before the Tyson fight. I called the place up, and they fucking closed down a minute after they delivered. It must have been the last pizza. They must have ran out of fucking cheese, dude.
Maybe that was JSU's first pizza and he never went back.
I would have never. I know I would have never went back for sure if I had something like that. That's 100%.
That is running not pure. That is not good there.
No.
Terry, you're Uncle Terry. You're welcome to come too, my brother.
All right,
Uncle Terry.
RPS gathering at Mad Lab. I like to see it. You can host the March Madness party in March. Sounds dude. You got pools to swim in? Yeah, that'll be an upgrade.
Dude, I got 3 pools, dude. I got them on the roof, everything.
Excellent. Pizza story out of the way. Let's get to the main event for this card. Title fight between Aljamain Sterling and Sean O'Malley. Sterling sitting -250 for this one. Favorite to finish inside the distance, -250 again or so. Mad Lab, I know you got strong feelings on this one. I read your write-up, and I echo pretty much everything. So talk to us. Aljamain Sterling and Sean O'Malley.
I just, these are the fights that aggravate me. Like I can't wait for them, but they aggravate me. It's like this is the same kind of situation, just not as much on a scale. It's a little bit more, cosmic. But like when you had, Conor fighting Mayweather, and you had these guys writing content that say he's going to do it, he's going to do it, he's going to do it. Not that much on this scale. But when you're like a content provider and you're giving advice and you're doing things, like you have a responsibility to be honest and tell the fucking truth. You know what I mean? And if you're not, then you shouldn't, because you're playing with people's money. I don't mind people wanting to take some fun stabs on a dog to keep it interesting, or if you're an O'Malley fan and you hate Aljo, I have no problem with that. That's fine. But when you're telling people like you have this strong stance that you think that Aljo's going to lose and this and that, like you have no facts behind that. You have nothing. If you're going to tell me that you're going to take like a plus 500 or a plus 400 dog or whatever it is, give me the why, and then I'll jump on. Like, why are you picking him? What has he shown you that you're going to pick him? The only thing that they can say in this fight is, well, he's got power. Okay, well, let's just go through this real quick. This is something I didn't add into the article. I did put it on the pod if you guys listen to. But let's just go through one thing that 101 you should look at. Look at their cumulative UFC record in their opponents. Okay, you have Aljo's last 5 wins. 10-7 was Munoz. 10-3 Sanhagen, 8-4 Jan, 13-5 Dillashaw, 10-3 Cejudo. A cumulative record of 51-22. Okay, when you look at Sean O'Malley's last 5, we all agree that he lost the fight to Jan, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're going to throw that off the board. 3-4 Holly and Paiva out of the UMC. 0-2 Montino out of the UMC. 5-5 Almeida out of the UFC. 6-10 Wineland out of the UFC. He's fought. The best guy he's honestly beat legitimately was Almeida. The cumulative record is 22-25. So technically, since he's been in the UFC, he's fought all guys with losing records, and they're all out of the UFC. So right there alone, where these people have this confidence that they're going to come out and beat a guy like Aljamain Sterling's out of their mind. If you go through what they do, the grappling, I think it's obvious that we know who the better grappler is. Striking, I got to be honest with you. Yeah, we're going to give it to O'Malley in this situation, but people sleep on Aljo's striking. It's very unorthodox. It's hard to pin down. He's always all over the place. When you look at his grappling, when they say, well, Madlab, 10 to 15% takedown. So that's his accuracy, because he's not a guy who shoots double blasts. He's not a guy who looks to really just take you down. He's a guy that looks to grab onto a limb, grab onto a kick, grab onto your body, and jump your back. And if you go down in the process, you go down in the process. But he's always looking to take your back. O'Malley has never been 5 rounds. He's never been over 3 rounds. So you can't even say he's got better conditioning. You can't say, well, he's got better conditioning. Aljo's been in a 5-round fight, 3 of his last 4 fights. He's been proven to go 5 rounds. We have no idea. There's no data that shows that he can do that. There's just so many things. Another thing with the size, they look at the height, they look at the hair, they look at all this. Aljo's the much bigger, much stronger guy, and there's a big distinct difference in grappling and wrestling. I don't care what these people are saying. Oh, well, he's a decent grappler, and he has good submissions off his back. That's not wrestling. Aljo is far and away the better wrestler in this fight. Jan was able to take O'Malley down after like 10 fence grabs, and he's a striker. What do you think Aljo's going to do for him? So these guys that are make it like trying to convince you that he's going to win this fight is absolutely ludicrous. And I actually think it's a terrible bet. Because at 2-1 odds, if you for someone like O'Malley, you better give me plus 500 odds to take him. Can he win the fight? 1,000%. It's a fight. That's why you fight the fight. Anything can happen in a fight. But to pick him in this spot is fucking asinine. And I'm going full boat on fucking Aljo and DraftKings. I'm going to have a little bit on Sugar, because I said you never know like what can happen. He can get caught with a knee up the middle or something like that. But I'm very overexposed on Aljo in this fight. And I think the line is off. I think he should be more of a minus 380 favorite in this fight.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you, everything, so I won't repeat it. But I'm all in on Aljamain. I'll say this. There's 2 lines that we think are a little bit off, at least through 2 of us here. This fight's in Boston. Sean O'Malley should be a bigger dog here, and Ian Gary shouldn't be as big a favorite as he is. I think where this fight is and who those fighters are has something to do with these lines being off from what they should be. Just my opinion on that. Aljamain, the pick here. I think this fight is going to be won when it's over. We're going to say, man, there should have been another 0 tacked onto Aljamain Sterling's line. Shouldn't have been minus 250. Should have been minus 2,500. I see domination here. Aljo's a pick for me. Let's go to you, JSU. What do you got?
Yeah, and by the way, my brother's buddy, he works at Club at Morningside for anyone who golfs out in San Diego. So check that place out. But back to this fight. I feel the exact same way Mad Lab does. And I feel like Mad Lab, everyone's like taking the puncher's chance on the bet. They're saying like, well, you know, he can
this
get
feels
caught.
like, Jason, real quick, this feels like, God, why is it? Go ahead. I'll think of the fight. Go ahead.
No, it's just like when you listen to people talk about this fight, it's almost like they're taking the puncher's chance that Mad Lab said, yeah, it's a fight. Like, can he get caught? Of course. And they're like, this is what's going to happen. Like, he's going to go in, he's going to get caught. He's like 7 for 40 in his takedown attempts or whatever. And they're using all these things to be like, oh, look at this. Peter Yan was throwing him down no problem. And like you said, he's not a damn wrestler. And he was grabbing the fence the whole damn time. Like, it's ridiculous if people are going to put those two together and be like, Aljo and him are the same. Aljo is literally going to dominate. And once he gets you down, he's going to get position. He's going to be able to keep you down. Whereas he got up against Yan. It's not going to be that easy to get up against Aljo. I don't think people even realize this too. This is Aljamain all day. Outside of getting lucky and him catching him coming in, I just don't see it. Aljo's better everywhere. Like, Aljo's stronger. He's better. Like, he has a massive advantage. So to me, this is Aljo all day. And I'll tell you right now, and I know this is next week, but you put Aljo with Aaron Blanchfield, who should not be minus 140 right now, and you put those two together and you get plus money. I like both those, and we'll talk about that obviously next week. But Aaron Blanchfield's gonna run easy against Santos, but I think that's a number that's going to go up from there. So Aljo, easy dub. He's going to get it done. Sorry for all the sugar people that either don't like Aljo and that's why they're betting sugar.
Well, that's what it is. You got to remember, a lot of these guys that are – I'm going to be honest with you. I'm transparent with you. I've never, ever once picked against Aljo ever through this whole run. I just refuse to. I picked him on both fights of Yan.
I'm the same way, Mad Lab. I haven't picked against him once.
Because I know how good he is.
Dude.
I know how good he is. I know a guy who wrestled with him, not in on a team, but actually was in the room with him and actually wrestled with him. A 2-time state champ from New Jersey who actually wrestled with him and literally told me, like, bro, when this guy takes your fucking back, you know it's coming and you can't stop it. Like, you literally can't stop it. You know, so how is Sterling going to stop? How is he going to stop that? Unless, he catches him with something.
The fight I was thinking of, Usman and Masvidal, right? Like, nobody likes Usman, think he's a boring fighter. Everybody loves Masvidal and the puncher's chance. And then you get in the ring and it's not particularly close. So
I mean, Sean is going to be the fan favorite. Sean is definitely going to be like that.
Yeah, and I think
the crowd is going to be cheering for Sean. No doubt in my mind. He's going to be the more popular guy.
Even if you win, listen, even if O'Malley wins that fight and people cash on that bet, it was still a terrible bet. It was still a terrible bet. But in hindsight, it was a terrible bet.
Drew, you're looking a little bummed over there. Maybe you got more Sean O'Malley than the three of us, but your thoughts on this fight?
No, just hungry. Trying to bulk up, be like Mad Lab. No, I'm the same way. I think kudos to Mad Lab. He explained it really well. I mean, obviously in NFL, we have strength of schedule. We look at it, 2 4-0 teams. They have a different path to get there. Same thing in golf. You have strength of the field. Same thing. If someone beats Rory McIlroy, it's a lot different than beating Joe Black that no one ever heard of. So I think Aljo is rightfully, he's going to be 50% owned. You go overweight the field on him. 8,900 makes so much sense. Sean O'Malley, I have at 27%. And it's the same reason people are going to bet him. They're going to play him. They think he can have a chance to win this thing with a knockout. He's 7,300. Worst case, he gets 5 rounds. Aljamain for me, and well overweight the field. 8,900 is just absurd. And I love hearing Mad Lab match up their fight history, because I think that provides so much context that it's so easy to just look at them, just records on numbers and not actually like the context of each of those fights. So, I
mean, no one's going to like this, but Pedro Munoz was beating Sean O'Malley
on every card except for Sal Diamato.
I mean, come on, people. What are we talking about here? Like, he was losing to Munoz, who was literally just throwing kicks. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, This is just a horrible.
But people still love
him.
Sean. They just can't get away from the show. And I get it, man. He does the little, the hoop thing. Listen, I love NBA. I love hoops. You know what I mean? I'm a big hoop fan.
When he leaves the division, and he's going to leave the division, you know what I mean? I think O'Malley has a legitimate shot to win in that strap. I do. But this ain't the spot.
No, we're 4 for 4 on the Aljamain train. I think
Jason said, "Does it scare you, Mad Lab, that Aljo already talked about like moving?"
No, but you know why it doesn't scare me? Because if he wins this fight, then he's ranked as the #1 title defenses in bantamweight history. So that's a ruby that you want in your belt. And also, he hasn't ruled out from being a double champ. He hasn't said he's going to exile the division yet. He just said he's going to get this win. He's going to be the all-time, defending champ at the bantamweight division, and then he's going to move up. So by all technicalities, he can defend the belt if he wants to. He can be, a double champ.
Yeah, Zach saying he's moving up because his friend and brother is number one, and they won't face each other. Exactly. Yeah.
Makes sense. We're hoping for a big night for Aljamain Sterling, and hopefully big night for us in the DFS betting streets and anyone watching as well. We do appreciate you guys tuning in. If you haven't done so yet, please do hit the like button on your way out. Hit the subscribe so you don't miss any of our content. And if you do want to join the winner's circle over at runpeersports.com, promo code NFL20 for 20% off the lifetime of your subscription. We will be back same time, same place next week. Enjoy the fights, everyone. Good luck in your bets and your DFS lineups. For JSU, for Drew, for Mad Lab, I'm DC. We'll check you next week.